It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
What's up, everybody? I am going to be reviewing the original 1980 Prom Night. Yeah, I know, the DVD comes with 3. Prom Night, Hello Mary, Prom Night 2, Hello Mary Lou, and Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. I watched a little bit of Prom Night 2 and couldn't get into it, and I was tired, and 4 I haven't even tried, so this is only specifically for the first Prom Night movie. Getting right into it, you know, the movie starts out with kids playing in this abandoned warehouse, and some other kids end up seeing them, and those are siblings, just like 3 of them, and I think 2 are twins. And I know the boy and the girl, they kind of go away, and one of the 3 it's the girl, ends up going in the abandoned house and trying to, I guess, play hide and seek with the children that are in the abandoned warehouse. And the other children aren't nice to her. They start shaming her and saying, "The killer is coming, the killer is coming," until she backs out of like the top story of a window and falls to her death. And you end up seeing like a shadow and I think some breathing, and it cuts to 6 years later, and they're like all in high school, and it's prom night, and I think it's Kim, I believe, one of the sisters, ends up getting a phone call saying, you know, "I'm gonna get you," or "It's prom night tonight," something along those lines. And, you know, long story short, it ends up being you know, the typical slasher movie with you know, stalking and phone calls and everything, and it ends up being, you know, the killer is the twin brother of the girl that fell out of the window, and he's trying to, you know, get vengeance on I think it's 4 children that, you know, supposedly was responsible for his sister's death. Basically, I don't want to say I completely hated this movie, and I'm a big fan of slasher films, especially, you know, in the 80s stuff, of course. You know, I mean, I like all the Friday the 13th movies pretty much. I like Halloween. I like Nightmare on Elm Street, which features Freddy Krueger. Big fan of the sort of lesser known stuff. Like, I really like The Burning. I really like The Prowler as well, My Bloody Valentine, Maniac, Madman. You know, I haven't seen like every slasher movie, but I like a lot of the older ones from the 80s, you know, especially. But this movie, it just didn't have a lot to offer, it seemed. And a lot of people like this movie, and they're like, "Oh, it's great." Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, is Kim, one of the sisters, and she's the prom queen. I had a hard time even really paying attention to this movie because it was so freaking boring. And it just, nothing was happening, and the characters were just so flat, and it was like, I don't know if it's because I've just seen everything kind of after this, you know? I mean, well, this was like the next slasher movie after, you know, Halloween, and it featured Jamie Lee Curtis, who barely does a damn thing in it. She, you know, they got her on the cover, and it's like, you know, advertised as Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween. She's in another slasher movie, you know, and it's just a flat movie. It seems like a made-for-TV movie. The pacing is just slow, and, you know, and it's not like slow like The Shining or something, where it's just tension and build-up. It's just a bunch of stuff happening, and the character development wasn't awful. There was some points being made, and the ending's sort of satisfying because you're like, okay, this all makes sense and everything, but it's just, I just don't think it has a lot to offer. It's just a weak movie in my opinion. And going into this, I watched it the reason I wanted to see it because I've never seen it. I thought, well, who knows? And it's always been talked about in slasher movie documentaries and all kinds of things. And it just, I don't know. It didn't have anything to offer, And it's like, I think a lot of people that don't like it maybe don't like it because the lack of blood and gore that's not in it compared to a lot of the other slasher films. That wasn't my problem though, and I'm not someone who just looks for only that. There just wasn't much to this movie, and it was just really freaking boring and just like, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. The reviews online about it are mixed. People either hate it or love it. I did sort of try to watch the second one, which seemed a little bit more to my liking, but at the same time it was so bad too, in a completely different way. It was like, well, they introduced the supernatural, and it was, I don't even know. I didn't even watch it all, but it was, it was like something like a step below a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. So, I gotta say, it just really wasn't my thing. It was not a very entertaining movie. And usually slasher films are like pretty solid. Like, this is gonna be, good old fashioned, hack and slash and blood and guts and whatever, but this movie just didn't cut it. It was like a really boring crime drama from the 70s. Well, the 80s, but it seemed like a 70s movie more than an 80s movie. It was probably shot in, who knows, the late 79 or something. But yeah, I gotta say, Prom Night was not a fan. So, with that being said, I guess I'll catch you later. I would really appreciate it if you guys give me a subscribe. And, yeah, later days.